They reached a sealed chamber that would serve as their fortress until reinforcements arrived. But as the doors closed behind them, they realized they were not alone. 3 Zeltor assassins had been waiting, their scaled bodies covered in adaptive camouflage that had hidden them from sensors. The princess raised her ceremonial weapon, but Catherine moved faster, drawing her sidearm and firing in one fluid motion, years of combat experience guiding her hands. 2 of the assassins fell before they could react. The third launched toward Kalira with deadly intent. Catherine threw herself into the attacker's path, taking a glancing blow from its poisoned blade before driving her combat knife into a vulnerable spot beneath its jaw. The creature collapsed. But Catherine staggered back, the poison already entering her system. Kalira caught the human as she fell, shocked by the selfless act that had saved her life. She called for medical assistance, her own physicians rushing to administer antidotes designed for Zinthari physiology, praying they would work on human biology. Hours passed as Catherine fought for her life in the medical bay, Kalira refusing to leave her side, despite advisors urging her to focus on matters of state. The princess watched the human warrior breathing slowly, memories of their brief interaction replaying in her mind. When Catherine finally opened her eyes, she found herself looking into the concerned face of the alien princess. "You saved my life," Kalira said, her translator barely capturing the emotion in her voice. "Why would you risk yourself for someone not of your species?" Catherine smiled weakly on Earth. "We have a saying, no better way to make friends than saving each other's lives." The princess laughed, a sound like wind chimes that surprised her guards, who had never heard such an informal response from their royal. "Your species continues to surprise me." Catherine Blackwell. When Zinthari reinforcements arrived, they found something unprecedented. The human and Zinthari security forces working together to repel the remaining raiders, with Princess Kalira and Lieutenant Catherine coordinating the defense side by side. News spread quickly throughout both fleets. The human soldier who saved the princess became a sensation among the Zinthari, who had always viewed humans as primitive and weak, while Earth celebrated Catherine as a hero who had secured an alliance with the most powerful empire in the Sector 1 lunar cycle. Later, Catherine stood beside Princess Kalira as they prepared to finalize the alliance between their civilizations. The attack had accelerated their diplomatic timeline in ways no one could have predicted. The grand hall of the Zinthari flagship glittered with crystalline decorations as representatives from both species gathered to witness the historic event. Catherine now wore a special uniform designed to honor both her human heritage and her new status as Friend of the Crown, a title no off-worlder had ever held. Kalira approached the ceremonial platform, her forearms moving in the precise gestures of royal address. "Today we forge a bond between our peoples that will reshape the stars," she announced, her voice carrying throughout the vast chamber. "Through the humans' courage, we have glimpsed a future of mutual strength." Catherine stood tall despite still recovering from her injuries. The poison had left her with a slight limp that the doctors assured would fade. With time, she felt the weight of history on her shoulders as she stepped forward to join the princess. The signing ceremony proceeded according to ancient Zinthari tradition, with one significant change at Kalira's insistence they would incorporate a human custom as well, the sharing of food and drink to symbolize trust. High Admiral Varix, the most decorated military leader in the Empire, approached Kalira, his expression grim. "My princess, this alliance moves too quickly." He spoke in their native tongue, forgetting that Catherine's translator could interpret his words. "The humans are untested, their technology primitive." Catherine met his gaze evenly. "Admiral, with respect, our ships may be smaller, but they are more maneuverable, our weapons less powerful, but more precise." She spoke in flawless Zinthari, shocking the entire assembly, who had not known she had been studying their language during her recovery together. "We complement each other." Varix narrowed his compound eyes, impressed, despite himself, by the humans' boldness. "Perhaps there is wisdom in this alliance after all." He conceded with a formal bow that acknowledged her as an equal. The ceremony concluded with Kalira and Catherine pressing their palms together in the traditional Earth gesture of partnership modified to accommodate the princess' forearms. The contact sent an unexpected shiver through both of them, a connection neither fully understood but both felt deeply. Princess Kalira of the Zinthari Empire stood tall on the observation deck, her crystalline skin catching the light of 3 moons as she gazed upon the small blue planet below her massive warship, hung in orbit around Earth, the 3rd planet of an insignificant star system that had somehow produced the most unpredictable species in the known galaxy, humans. The royal guards surrounded her, their armor shifting colors with each movement, reminding all who saw them that they served the most powerful empire in this arm of the galaxy. Kalira smoothed her iridescent robes and tried to calm her racing hearts. The delegation from Earth would arrive soon, and she needed to appear composed and aloof as befitting her station. Catherine Blackwell adjusted her uniform one last time before stepping onto the transport shuttle she had been chosen to represent Earth Defense Force as part of the first diplomatic mission to the Zinthari Empire, the most technologically advanced alien civilization humans had encountered since achieving faster-than-light travel 5 years ago. Catherine had risen through military ranks, quickly known for her strategic mind and unflappable demeanor qualities that would serve her well in this mission. She wore her blonde hair in a tight regulation bun, her green eyes focused and determined as the shuttle departed Earth, heading toward the massive alien vessel that dominated the sky. The human shuttle approached the docking bay of the Zinthari warship, looking tiny against the enormous vessel that stretched nearly 3 kilometers in length. Kalira watched through specialized viewing screens, her antennae twitching with anxiety. Though she would never admit such weakness to her advisors, the Zinthari had encountered many species in their 5,000 years of space travel. But humans fascinated Kalira unlike any other. Though physically weaker than many galactic species, they possessed remarkable adaptability and an unpredictable nature that both intrigued and frightened the Empire. Catherine felt the shuttle dock with a gentle thud, her heart racing. Despite her calm exterior, this meeting would determine the future relationship between humanity and the most powerful empire in this sector of space. Failure was not an option. She stood as the airlock cycled, her fellow diplomats looking to her for strength. The first thing Catherine noticed when the doors opened was the overwhelming scent of something like cinnamon and ozone. The air aboard the alien vessel was breathable but distinctly foreign. The second thing she noticed was the princess herself standing at the front of the welcoming party. Princess Kalira was tall, nearly 7 feet, with skin that seemed made of living crystal. Shifting between blue and purple hues, her forearms were adorned with intricate jewelry that Catherine later learned indicated her royal lineage and military accomplishments. What appeared to be hair was actually thousands of sensitive antennae that moved subtly, sensing electromagnetic fields. Their eyes met across the docking bay, crystalline violet meeting human green, and something passed between them, a moment of recognition that transcended species. Kalira felt both her hearts skip a beat. This human female was not what she expected. Instead of fear or awe, she saw curiosity and determination in those alien eyes. Formal introductions began as Catherine approached and bowed according to the briefing she had memorized about Zinthari customs. Kalira extended her upper right hand, the most honored greeting she could offer, a gesture that caused whispers among her advisors. The meeting room was designed to intimidate visitors with high ceilings and displays of Zinthari military. Might Catherine recognize the tactic, having used similar approaches in Earth negotiations? She remained composed as she took her seat across from the princess. Kalira spoke through a translation device, her voice melodic, even through the mechanical interpretation. We have watched your species with great interest. Your rapid advancement concerns many in the Empire. Catherine nodded. Understanding the unspoken threat beneath the words, Earth was being evaluated as either potential ally or future conquest. She had to prove humanity was worth more as a partner than as a subject. The negotiations continued for hours, Catherine demonstrating knowledge of Zinthari culture and history that surprised the princess, while Kalira found herself impressed by the human delegates' diplomatic skills, especially Catherine, whose unwavering confidence intrigued her. When alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship, both delegations jumped to their feet. Kalira, receiving reports through her neural implant, her expression darkening. Raiders from the Zelter Collective, our ancient enemies, have ambushed us. They knew we would be distracted with diplomatic functions. Catherine reacted instantly, her military training taking over. How can we help the princess? looked shocked at the offer. Never in her experience had a species offered assistance during their first meeting, especially not against such dangerous opponents. Before Kalira could respond, an explosion rocked the ship, throwing both leaders to the floor. Catherine instinctively moved to shield the princess, an action that left the alien royal speechless, as emergency lighting bathed the room in red. "The ship is compromised," came the report from Kalira's guards. "We must move you to the secure chamber." Catherine helped the princess to her feet. "We should combine our security teams," her voice steady despite the chaos. "My soldiers are trained for close quarters combat." Another explosion, closer this time, forced the decision. Kalira nodded, leading the way through hidden passages designed for royal evacuation. Catherine followed, signaling her team through their communicators. The Zeltor were known throughout the galaxy as brutal warriors who left no survivors. Their only goal was to eliminate the Zinthari royal line and claim their technology. Catherine learned this as they moved through the ship, Kalira explaining between hurried breaths. 6 Earth months after the historic alliance, Catherine found herself permanently stationed aboard the Zinthari royal vessel, serving as the official human ambassador and military liaison. Her understanding of the crystalline aliens had deepened, as had her friendship with Princess Kalira. The two leaders often spent evenings together after official duties were complete. Kalira teaching Catherine the complex social hierarchies of her species, while Catherine shared stories of Earth that fascinated the princess. Tonight they sat in Kalira's private gardens, a remarkable recreation of her homeworld, featuring luminescent plants that pulsed with gentle light. The atmosphere adjusted to be comfortable for both species. "I still don't understand why humans form pair bonds based on emotion rather than genetic compatibility," Kalira said as she manipulated a floating holographic display showing various Earth customs, her antennae twitching with curiosity. Catherine smiled, watching the princess experiment with pronouncing the word love, a concept the Zinthari language had no direct equivalent for. "We believe connection goes beyond biology. That compatibility of spirit matters as much as genetics." Kalira considered this, her crystalline skin shifting to a thoughtful shade of violet. "Perhaps this explains why your species creates such moving art and music. Despite your short lifespans, you seek depth of experience rather than mere longevity." Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent communication alert. Catherine recognized the priority signal from Earth Command, her expression growing serious as she accessed the message. "The Zeltor Collective has attacked 3 human colonies along the border worlds." Her voice was tight with controlled anger. "Thousands dead or missing. They left a message saying this is punishment for our alliance with you." Kalira rose immediately, her royal robes flowing around her like liquid crystal. "This changes everything," she said, her voice hardening. "They have never directly attacked human worlds before. This is a declaration of war against both our peoples." Emergency councils were convened as reports continued to arrive. The attacks had been precisely coordinated and devastatingly effective. The Zeltor had deployed new weapon technology that bypassed human defensive systems. High Admiral Varix displayed tactical simulations, showing the attack patterns. "We believe their next target will be the human colony on Proxima Centauri, their largest settlement outside your solar system. They seek to break human resolve by destroying your most valuable outpost." Catherine studied the projections, her military training allowing her to spot weaknesses in the enemy formation. "They don't understand human psychology. We don't break under pressure, we unite and fight harder." The combined war council debated strategy for hours, the Zinthari advocating for defensive positioning, while human generals pushed for immediate counterattacks, the fundamental differences in their approaches creating tension, until Kalira raised all 4 hands for silence. "We will combine our tactics," she declared her royal authority, ending the debate. "Zinthari shielding technology will protect the human colony while Earth forces launch precision strikes against Zeltor supply lines together. We will show them the cost of challenging our alliance." Catherine nodded in agreement, her eyes meeting Kalira's across the table, the connection between them growing stronger through shared purpose and mutual respect. The next days were a flurry of activity as the combined fleet prepared for battle. Catherine oversaw the integration of human targeting systems with Zinthari shield generators, creating a hybrid technology neither species could have developed alone. Kalira surprised her advisors by announcing she would personally command the flagship despite the danger such a decision placed her directly in the battle. But as she explained to Catherine later in private, a ruler who hides while others fight soon finds herself without followers. The night before the fleet departed, Catherine found Kalira on the observation deck, gazing at the stars, her normally composed demeanor showing signs of worry. "You should be resting," Catherine said softly. "Coming to stand beside the princess tomorrow's battle will demand all our strength." Kalira turned her crystalline eyes reflecting the starlight. "If we fail tomorrow, the Zeltor will target my homeworld next. They seek to undo 5,000 years of Zinthari civilization." Catherine placed her hand gently on one of the princess' lower arms, a gesture of support that would have been unthinkable months ago. "We won't fail. Our peoples are stronger together than either would be. Alone, that's what the Zeltor fear most." The combined fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Proxima Centauri system, the massive Zinthari vessels dwarfing their human counterparts, but moving with perfect coordination. As they took defensive positions around the colony planet, Kalira stood on the command deck of the flagship, her royal armor gleaming, her forearms operating different control interfaces simultaneously, while Catherine coordinated with the human vessels, ensuring their smaller, more agile ships were positioned to maximum advantage. Zeltor vessels detected at the system edge. Admiral Varex announced, his compound eyes focused on tactical displays. "There are more than our intelligence suggested. They must have committed half their fleet to this attack." Catherine studied the enemy formation, recognizing a pattern from her military history. "They're using a pincer strategy, attempting to divide our forces and isolate the colony," she observed. Kalira nodded. The human was right. "We will not fall for such basic tactics. Maintain formation, protect the colony above all else." The battle began with a barrage of energy weapons from the Zeltor ships, their green beams slicing through space toward the colony, but dissipating harmlessly against the combined shield technology that Catherine and Zinthari engineers had developed. Now Catherine signaled, and the smaller human vessels darted forward, their superior maneuverability, allowing them to slip through gaps in the Zeltor formation, targeting propulsion systems and weapons arrays with precision strikes. The Zeltor responded with unexpected ferocity, deploying a new type of fighter craft that swarmed toward the human ships like insects. Catherine watched in horror as 3 Earth vessels were overwhelmed, their shields failing under the coordinated assault. Kalira made an instant decision: redirect shield power to Sector 7. Protect those human ships. She commanded, her voice calm, despite the chaos unfolding around them. The battle raged for hours, both sides taking heavy losses, but the combined fleet maintaining its protective formation around the colony. The Zinthari providing powerful shields, while human vessels darted between enemy ships, exploiting weaknesses with surgical precision. When a massive Zeltor dreadnought suddenly appeared at the edge of the system, Admiral Varex hissed in alarm, their supreme commander comes. "We may not have the firepower to withstand their flagship." Catherine studied the new threat, her mind racing. "We need to target their command vessel directly," she said, turning to Kalira. "If we can eliminate their leadership, the rest will retreat. Such an attack would require dropping our shields around the flagship." Kalira replied, understanding immediately what Catherine was, suggesting it would leave us vulnerable. Catherine met her gaze. Sometimes victory requires risk. A human concept the princess had come to appreciate over their months together. Kalira considered for only a moment, before nodding, her antennae rippling. With determination, "Prepare my personal assault craft," she ordered, shocking her commanders. "I will lead this attack myself." Catherine stepped forward. "Then I go with you." The human and Zinthari crews watched in amazement as their leaders prepared for what might be a suicide mission. The royal assault craft was unlike anything Catherine had seen before, a crystalline vessel that seemed alive, responding to Kalira's thoughts as much as her physical commands. As they departed the flagship, a small contingent of both human and Zinthari fighters formed around them as escort. The Zeltor dreadnought loomed before them, massive weapon arrays targeting the approaching squadron. But the princess piloted with extraordinary skill, her neural link with the craft allowing maneuvers that defied conventional physics. Catherine operated the weapon systems, her human intuition complementing Kalira's precision As they weaved through enemy fire closing the distance to their target, "We have one chance," Catherine said as they approached an opening in the dreadnought's defensive grid. "We need to target their central power core." Kalira guided their craft into a narrow access channel barely wide enough for their vessel, enemy fire exploding around them as the Zeltor realized their intention too late. The assault craft plunged deeper into the enemy flagship. There, Catherine pointed to a pulsing structure visible through a reinforced viewport. "That's their power source." Kalira focused all weapons on the target, their combined technology punching through the final defenses and striking the core with devastating effect. They pulled away with barely seconds to spare as chain reactions began throughout the massive vessel. The dreadnought erupted in a series of explosions, the Zeltor command structure thrown into chaos as their supreme leader and central command were destroyed. Just as Catherine had predicted, the remaining enemy vessels began to retreat, breaking off their attack. The victory celebration united humans and Zinthari in a way that formal treaties never could. The shared battle creating bonds between the species that transcended cultural differences. Soldiers from both races exchanged stories comparing battle tactics and sharing meals in a display of camaraderie that would have been unimaginable months earlier. Catherine found herself honored not just by her own people but by the Zinthari warriors who had witnessed her courage firsthand, the alien soldiers. Treating her with the same respect, they showed their princess a remarkable shift in a society where hierarchy and bloodline determined all social standing. Kalira watched these interactions with growing satisfaction, her gamble on the human alliance proving wiser than even she had anticipated. Her advisors, who had once questioned the partnership, now acknowledged its benefits, though few understood the personal connection that had formed between their princess and the human ambassador. One full Earth year after their first meeting, Kalira invited Catherine to a private ceremony in the royal gardens, the princess wearing ceremonial armor rather than diplomatic robes, a choice that signified the importance of the occasion. Catherine arrived, dressed in a formal Earth Defense Force uniform, adorned with new insignia that incorporated both human and Zinthari symbols, representing her unique position between the two civilizations. "I have been studying human customs," Kalira began as they walked among the luminescent plants. The garden adjusted to mimic an Earth sunset, casting warm golden light across the crystalline foliage. "You form bonds of fellowship after facing death together." Catherine nodded. "On Earth, soldiers who fight alongside each other become closer than family. We call it being battle brothers, though the term applies regardless of gender." Kalira stopped beside a small pool of liquid that reflected their images side by side, the tall crystalline princess and the shorter human soldier in the Zinthari Empire. "We have a similar concept, though, much rarer. What you might translate as soul-forged. It refers to warriors whose spirits have been tested in the same fire and emerged stronger together." She produced a small crystal that pulsed with inner light. "I had this created from the remnants of the Zeltor flagship we destroyed together. It contains essence of both their technology and ours. A symbol of what we accomplished." Catherine accepted the gift with appropriate formality, understanding its significance in Zinthari culture, where such personal exchanges were uncommon, especially from royalty. In turn, she presented Kalira with something from Earth, a simple metal compass, its needle pointing unerringly north. On Earth, explorers used these to find their way when stars were hidden. She explained, "They remind us that even in darkness, there is always direction to be found, if you have the right tools." Kalira examined the device with fascination, her antennae brushing lightly over its surface, sensing its magnetic properties. "Your people create such elegant solutions with limited resources." She observed a compliment that reflected her growing appreciation for human ingenuity. Their moment was interrupted by an urgent communication from Earth Command. Catherine listened, her expression growing serious as she received the message. "The Galactic Council has requested a joint audience with human and Zinthari leadership," she reported, referring to the distant governing body that loosely united the major spacefaring civilizations. "Our defeat of the Zeltor has drawn their attention. They wish to discuss expanding our alliance to include other species threatened by Zeltor aggression." Kalira considered the implications, her political mind calculating the advantages and challenges such attention would bring. "We have changed the balance of power in this sector. She acknowledged the council has ignored both our peoples for too long. Now they cannot afford to do so. The following weeks brought diplomatic envoys from a dozen different species some Catherine had never heard of, all curious about the alliance that had defeated the dreaded Zeltor collective. The human and Zinthari leadership worked together to negotiate new trade agreements and defense pacts, their complementary styles creating diplomatic successes that impressed even the ancient members of the Galactic Council. On the eve of their presentation to the council, Catherine found Kalira again on the observation deck, the princess gazing at the distant galaxy core visible as a smear of light across the star field. 1 year ago, I stood here dreading meeting with primitive humans, Kalira said with the musical laugh that had become more frequent in recent months. Now I stand here with a human friend, preparing to address the council as equals. Catherine smiled, remembering her own apprehension before that first meeting. I was equally concerned about meeting the terrifying crystal aliens who might decide to conquer Earth on a whim. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment before Kalira spoke again, her voice taking on a formal tone that signaled royal declaration. The Zinthari Empire has existed for 5,000 years, following traditions unchanged for millennia. But your arrival has taught us that change can bring strength. Adaptation can ensure survival. She turned to Catherine, her crystalline eyes reflecting starlight. My council has created a new position second, only to the royal family and authority. Ambassador of Unified Forces, they wish you to be the first to hold this title. Catherine felt the weight of the offer, understanding. It represented an unprecedented elevation for a non-Zinthari. She bowed formally, in the alien tradition, then straightened to her full height, though still a foot shorter than the princess. I accept with honor, she replied, then added with a human smile, on one condition. Kalira tilted her head, her antennae shifting with curiosity. Conditions are not typically attached to royal appointments. That you visit Earth as my guest. Catherine said, my people should know the princess who changed the course of our history. Just as I have come to know her. Kalira extended all 4 hands, in the gesture of royal agreement, her crystalline skin shifting to a warm gold hue that signified pleasure. I would be honored to see the world that produced Catherine Blackwell, the human who taught an alien princess the value of friendship across the stars.